Amelía and
This is Satya, and you're listening to
Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda. Our podcast was created with the sole intention to release toxic shame, illuminate our shadow nature, and expose the mysterious entities that feed off our most precious life force, our sexual energy. To learn more about our life-enhancing courses and transformational retreats, visit knowtheself.com. Let's dive in.
It's about faith. It's about trust. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, let's talk about trust. Oh, dear God.
Dear God.
I have a hard time trusting people. I'm just going to say it.
Dear God.
Dear God. I mean, I have excuses why I don't trust. I think when I was younger, I used to trust everyone. I used to not understand that there were bad people in the world that did bad things, that were supposed to be, that we should have some discernment around. I just assumed everyone was like me. And just so, coming from a good place. And when I found out, like my best friend childhood, she lied. She's a compulsive liar. My sister was a compulsive liar. I was so gullible. I believed everything they said all the time. So yeah, I've got a trust issue now. Because after the umpteenth time, I can't even count how many times I've dealt with some sort of shock of someone's, intention or betrayal or. Ooh.
So how does that translate in your intimate relationships with your
How do you think it translates? Horribly.
With your boyfriend now.
My poor boyfriend.
Trust. Is trust earned, or can trust just be given?
Yeah, that's our conversation all the time. His perspective is I should just trust him, and trust is a gift, and trust is just something that you give. And for me, I feel naive and ignorant acting like that now. I feel like I know better. And so I don't give trust right off the bat. I'm cultivating the feeling that they have a good intention. So I'm not assuming the worst right off the bat. I'm not doing that. But if I see or I start tracking certain discrepancies, then I pull back my trust immediately, and then they need to earn it. So yeah, my partner and I, we have this discussion a lot, and actually went and got some support with it. And remember Angeline and Dixon, we had them on the show before. They're a great relationship coach. They've been married, I don't know how many years, 25 plus years. And they had some amazing things to teach us around trust that kind of gave an aha moment for both my partner and I, because they were saying there's all these different levels of trust. Let me see if I can remember what they told me. Yeah, they were saying there's trust, loyalty trust, do we trust each other to be loyal? There's emotional trust, trusting that the other person's emotions are going to that we can trust that they have emotional intelligence or something like that. And then there's physical trust, that they're not going to harm your body, right? Or that you can trust someone to treat your physical body right. Mm-hmm. And then there's integrity. So just being authentic and saying what you mean, meaning what you say, that kind of trust. And then there's just basic honesty. Some people like to throw in little white lies. In India, people just lie all the time for no reason, no apparent reason. That drove me crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they would lie about just really dumb things that you would think, what is the point to lie about that? Oh, did you have lunch today? Yes, but they're hungry, and it wasn't. And then you come to find out later that they didn't really eat. And You could have fed them, silly things. But, there's a cultural, I learned that there was a cultural reason for that. But my God, that used to drive me crazy. Like, why are they lying about something that has no effect on me?
What do Angelina and Dixon say about trust? Like if it's earned or?
Yeah, they said that trust can't be demanded. Like it can only be earned and given, but it can't be demanded. And I thought that was really profound.
That really is. I like that. Trust. Wait, say
Cannot
it
be
again?
demanded. Trust cannot be demanded.
Right. Of course not. Yeah. It can be earned or it can be given. I think that I give trust, but then if I see something that makes me question something, then I question it. And maybe in that moment, I'm not trusting. And then from then on, do I trust the person after that? I don't know. I think some of my trust goes away, or I make a decision to just go ahead and trust. Like my boyfriend says to me, you like trust is earned. Sometimes I feel like I'm the one having to earn the trust, but he has to earn it too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I found some other guys work, this guy Dave, who talked about trust happening in stages, and that really spoke to me because he was talking about, we have to have all these different levels to really build up to the trust. Like there's connection, like when your chemistry aligns, your values align, and there's like a click. So you can trust someone based on connection. Like you just have this innate trust, right? Like you meet someone, you like them, and you're like, oh, okay, I get this person. I think, we're there. And then there's caution. The next level is caution, where you can't move. If you move too fast with the trust, and you don't have caution in the second phase, you can like you might just back out altogether. And I think that's where like new relationships get tripped up, because caution is just part of the stages of learning how to trust. But we often don't realize this is just part of learning how to trust. Like caution is healthy and normal and good, because the third stage is consistency. And he was saying there's no shortcuts to build trust. And I loved that, because if something's not consistent, like words start feeling funny, or actions and words aren't lining up, or somehow trust gets broken in some small way, if you can have to start all over again, right, to rebuild it. And people think like, oh, well, you should just forgive and move on, like it was a small situation, a small deal. But forgiveness and trust aren't the same thing. Like you can forgive someone but still not trust them. Like I've totally forgiven all the people who've hurt me, but it doesn't mean that I trust them, and I'm going to fall into that place where they could hurt me again,
Right. And then there's that part where there's a decision, well, I trust myself to be, I guess, okay, no matter what happens. But I also feel like trust, like he's been so burned like in his last relationship that it's harder for him to trust. I think that's why he says, trust is earned. But then, on the other hand, there's all this trust given. It's so strange. But then he'll back up and get scared about it.
Well, yeah, and I think your boyfriend is more similar to me, where like we have to see trust over time. Like the consistency has to be there, and then you get the next phase of after consistency is the courage, where you actually be more vulnerable, like you grow in the trust. And it's super scary, but that's where, the deep intimacy lies, where you're like, okay, I'm terrified, but I'm going to have to give trust right now. I'm going to be courageous right now and just trust that they're going to do the right thing. And then kind of, it feels like free falling for me when I have to give trust at a bigger level or at the next level, right?
Hmm.
It's not easy. Like it takes a courageous heart to trust again after being vulnerable, being hurt. I mean, how many people do you know that were in a bad relationship and then they just are single for the rest of their life? I know a lot of people like that. They just don't even bother trying.
That was my boyfriend for sure. Yeah, I mean, he was single for like 6 years, just dating people. And then we met and he was like, "Oh my God, my heart is open. I love you. La 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 la. Oh my God, I never thought I'd feel this way. I thought I was going to be alone the rest of my life. I had my whole life planned out. I was going to be single. I can't believe this. I can't even believe how much I love you. Oh my God." And so yeah, it really
Oh,
can.
and of course he's going to pull back because that would be him being super vulnerable, super open to love because he wants love. We all want love more than anything else. And so we open all the way up to it. And then he probably got terrified or he saw something that he wasn't 100% sure. And then he has to back way up and start over again. Like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, maybe she didn't react the way I wanted, or maybe she did something that made me question her, or, just this, it could be the smallest thing, the most insignificant thing can break trust for someone who comes from a lot of trauma or a deep wound. My brother, he didn't date for 20 years after a breakup. Some girl, he asked her to marry him, and she said no and went off to college or something. He was really young and he was just single for 20 years. And we were all so concerned about him. And then he finally, like in his 50s, finally met someone new. And now he's in a committed, really beautiful relationship. My mother, my dad cheated on her. She was single. She's still single for like 30 years. Actually, all the women in my family whose husbands died or they got divorced never were in a relationship again. So crazy.
Husbands died or they got divorced.
Yeah, they can't get over the grief and they don't want to try again. Like it's too much. And I think a lot of people are actually like that. And now in the culture where everybody's dating and, getting divorced and moving on, we have another issue where like nobody trusts each other. That's why all the prenuptials and open relationships and this, that, and the other. But we don't have relationship unless we have trust, right? Like trust is the foundation for any relationship. And I think now, especially with the way the world's going with COVID, with the political climate and the whole drama that we've had, everybody's being posed against each other. So even people that were, the closest of friends aren't even speaking anymore over something small. And it seems like everything's quite heightened. Like this last few months, I've heard of so many, long-term friendships ending. And it's been sad for me to hear, but I can see why. It's like people are just not able to trust anymore. Like something fundamentally is cracking. And I think we really need to work on finding that trust. I do want to mention that after that guy who talked about the 6 stages, after the courage, the next stage after that is commitment. And I think that's where we lack. Everyone seems to be, well, I mean, I'm generalizing, but people seem to be scared of commitment. Like to really agree that you're going to work together and you're going to show up and you're going to be consistent in your showing up. And without commitment, you can't build trust. I mean, and you'll never get to the next level. The final level is comfort. And I think comfort is just so terrifying for everybody. Like, because it doesn't mean like you rest in comfort forever, because obviously trust can be broken at any time and you have to rebuild it right back to connection and caution and consistency and courage, and then recommit to get to comfort again. Yeah, it's vital that we learn how to first, I think, trust ourselves. That's where my work's been, because all the times I've been hurt, I had to really sit with myself. Like I had my own trust with myself broken. Like, how could I allow that to happen again? Or how did I not see that coming? Or, blaming myself for being in that situation with that person, whoever hurt me. And so I had to just reestablish my own inner navigation system every time I felt like, someone hurt me. Like, how did I not see that? And forgive myself, and then recommit to myself, like, okay, I'm not going to be friends with people who act like this, or people who show me these kind of behavior patterns. I'm gonna speak up sooner.
Right. Yeah. Oh gosh, I feel so emotional right now. It's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know where we were 50 years ago with trust. I mean, it was probably just some other metamorphosis of messed up, of messy. It was probably just some other kind of, yeah, I just don't want to see us be. I think some people think too, oh, the commitment would end up being boring or something, or.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Yeah, people are just so terrified to be all in. But the thing is, we don't have trust unless you're all in. So regardless of the relationship you're talking about, whether it's a lover or a business partner, or, just someone you plan to go to lunch with, like if they're not all in and they double book, well, you're not going to trust them anymore. You're going to have this thing like, ooh, they showed this weird, behavior pattern. I should, be aware of that, because they're not to be trusted. And I think we're getting into like a paranoia state, like collectively. People are going into this kind of oversensitive paranoia around trust, because it's been so dismantled and broken. And I think that's a really dangerous place, because that's when, big government and all these other things step in, and we start trusting, the wrong people for solutions that aren't really solutions at all. Yeah, it's sad. I feel like during this whole lockdown, I've seen a lot of fracturing of relationships. And, now you walk down the street and people don't trust anybody. It's like everybody's a virus that's going to kill them. Or, they're wearing these masks and, keep your distance. And
yeah,
it's this weird feeling of like, wow, without trust, we don't cultivate love. We are not deepening, we're not connecting. And therefore we're all getting siloed out unto ourselves. So it's critical, I think, now more than ever before, that we learn how to cultivate first our own trust in ourselves, trust in our way that we navigate, so we know when we can be vulnerable, when we can open, and who we can make commitments with, and kind of follow through and build that connection back.
Yeah. And, with attachment theory and attachment styles, it's crazy, but you can actually develop, for example, avoidant personality or avoidant attachment style as an adult, as a result of a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
It can be, I mean, so back to what you were saying, that if you have an experience, that it really can change the course. So yeah, you're right. I mean, it takes a lot of courage for somebody who's gone through that to choose to be open again. And that's a beautiful thing. Lots of people do
Yeah,
that.
and I think, people who've been hurt, or when we've been hurt, because I think we've all been hurt in some way, we need to do that work for ourselves to parse out and not just lump everything together. Like if you've been hurt in a relationship, it's not like relationships are inherently untrustworthy. Something specific happened. So you have to parse out like what exactly happened and where did things get, wonky, and who said what and what actually happened. Because I think that we make meaning of stuff and generalize it, and it just gets swept under the carpet to create this disconnection. And then we wonder why everybody's feeling so, suffering alone and feeling, like needing this deep connection and yearning for it, but not being able to be met in it. We have to do that first, that inner work, so that we can, I don't know, stop blaming everyone else, take responsibility, and then learn how to cultivate it. Like for me, rebuilding trust I feel like I've been working at it for the last, like consciously for the last 10 or 15 years. And it's not easy. I mean, it does take a really courageous heart. Like I feel sometimes I'm leaping, sometimes I make wrong decisions. Also, I do make a leap and I think, oh, I'm going to trust. And it ends up, I fall on my face or something. And I think, oh man, but yeah, get back up, learn how to trust again. But what is happening through all of these, circumstances I've been in is that there's something like an inner resilience that's so deep in me that is the part that's unbreakable. It's the thing nobody can take away from me. It's that thing that's always there, even after the dark nights or through the dark nights. And even in the bliss experience, that specific spark that stays with me, I just rest there. When I rest there, I don't know, I'm able to navigate easier. And if I don't allow myself to sit there in these moments of like, should I trust this person or not? Then I typically can be off, with my judgment or my paranoia or the wrong, giving trust to the wrong person. I mean, especially those of us who've been groomed and had a lot of childhood abuse, we trusted the wrong people. We were trained to trust the wrong people. We were trained to trust the people that, inherently were supposed to protect us, but were the ones who were perpetrators. And that's a hard inner navigation system to rewire, because it is a rewiring.
Trust. I feel like just calling that in right now for everyone. Takes a lot of self-confidence, a lot of groundedness.
I think it's just self-love above everything else, because sometimes we're coerced to trust things that we shouldn't. Like, I don't really like what's going on with this whole vaccine thing. It's like medical tyranny in a way. Like, you should trust this because it's science. You should trust. And if you inherently don't trust it, you're put in this camp that you're like a bad person or something. That kind of forced enforcement of trust, I find, is a number one manipulation tactic. Like when we lose choice and we're being forced to trust someone, like my parent, I was forced to trust my parents. I had no one else taking care of me as a child. But if they're the abuser, right? I mean, it's like, at what level, when do you wake up and realize, hey, wait a second, they're the ones hurting me? Like, it took me a long time to see that, up into my 20s. I mean, some of the overt abuse was obvious, but I couldn't really get out from underneath it until I was an adult. And whoever's listening to this, just please remember you have choice, and that trust is a gift. It is a gift, and it's not something that can be forced. I don't think we can force anyone. I mean, we all know when someone says, trust me, we inherently don't trust them, right? Like, I've heard that line before. It's a beautiful gift, and it comes from things matching up.
Whew.
I hope we can cultivate more trust. I'm calling in the ability to trust more. And you know what I'm learning is how vulnerable I have to be to receive more trust, because I've had to be very vulnerable with my partner, sharing things that I really don't want to share. With friends recently, I've had to have some heart to hearts that were really quite scary. But I realized, there is no relationship if we can't walk through this shadow, we can't really address these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're very courageous to try to be in relationships again at this time in history, after so much personal struggle and heartbreak. It is a courageous thing to love. And I think that love is actually the only thing that really brings us into that deeper levels of trust that we all desire, that we want to rest in.
Yeah. I mean, everyone wants to be loved and in a relationship. And that's the funny part. I mean, this area where I'm living right now, everyone is so rich that they just kind of live alone and they just kind of have sex with people or they have relationships. And I know
You
that
mean like people, what do you mean? How
just
old are they?
there's a lot of single people. They can afford to live alone, and so they do, and they've probably been hurt, or they've probably, or they probably have
Uh-huh.
some kind of weird thing where they just can't, keep a relationship, or they, get together and hang out, and that's fine, I guess. I mean,
Oh yeah, where I live too, it's a bunch of single people who are all on dating apps, and they just hook up whenever they want to have sex. There's no commitments, and they're all terrified of commitments, or they don't really want it, and they don't want their independence taken away. I mean, that's one way to cope with not having to trust. But then we see that, yeah, the flip side of that is that, we're constantly engaging our sacred, most precious energy with a bunch of different people. And then, that's a whole other host of problems. But I think that's a tactic for making sure that love can't deepen and blossom, like a tactic from the darker energies at play.
ooh, that hits a nerve. That feels about right. I think
Mm.
that's why I'm feeling this way during this episode, because I'm just kind of I sense that, and I sense it in myself too. It's just to move forward and whew, have faith, and I want to just run
Oh,
away.
girl, yeah, we all do. But we all also, what are we running away from is the thing that we need the most, which is like a deeper sense of love and connection. And so what we keep running, but that doesn't create or cultivate deeper love and connection. It just cultivates the next thing, like next. Okay, there's got to be something better. I mean, we live in such a disposable world where everyone suddenly is disposable. Oh, they're dead. Oh, they messed up. Oh, next. Oh, they're fired. It's just like minions or something.
Oof, God. It does feel that way.
It's getting worse. I mean, it's just getting worse. And the fact that now we can't even go to funerals or weddings and all these things where people actually gather, or churches, or I mean, gyms, for God's sake. Like, people go and connect, and schools hang out with each other, get to know each other, deepen in their bonds. And now we're being segregated and separated and told to fear each other. And it just seems like everything's disposable, like the disposable mask and the gloves you take off and the condom and everything else. Just like that's how they're treating people and relationships. And it's concerning.
I want to carry a flag for like love and relationships and
I know. I wonder if like family, what families are going to look like in 20 years, or if they're even going to be such a thing as families, or we just have like donors and a bunch of children that are being raised by different people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's better. I just know that love, we shouldn't forsake love for fear. And I think that's what people do all day long. They choose fear over love and they don't realize it. What if we choose love instead of fear? Then what are the choices? Like, that's what I ask myself every time I'm afraid, every time I don't know if I can trust this person. I say, you know, what would love choose right now? What would love do? Where is there more love? Like this way or this way? Where am I going to experience a deeper sense of love? It could be love for myself, starting with myself, or, you know, love with connection. You know, how can I connect more to myself and to other people? And then I try and choose from that perspective. And those choices lead me to deeper love. That's why, you know, that's kind of my practice of like being courageous and like finding that next level of commitment. And maybe the commitment is just showing up and speaking your truth. It doesn't mean, you know, married forever after till death do us part. You know, I think we're all pretty scared of that because we've been hurt. So we know things can change on a dime, you know.
well, we just keep a trying. Keep going.
Yeah.
What else is there to do?
Maybe you can sing us a lullaby, Satya, to call in more love. We need that mother love song right now to just like soothe the trembling nerves when it's just so scary to trust again.
When Rowan was little, I would just make up little songs all the time and little stories. And Rowan is my daughter, for those of you.
She's so lucky, and now she's singing amazing songs for others.
She is, and she's writing.
She's writing music.
Yeah, she's sent me 3 songs that she's written lately. She's writing little pieces, little excerpts. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Okay, so let me see if I can conjure up something here on love. Let's see. La la la. La 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 la.
Oh, it's so sweet.
I feel better.
Me too. Wow. I love when you sing to me.
Aww, he loves to sing
Well,
to you.
thank you for saying yes. No, it's so soothing to hear your lullabies. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Until next time. To learn more about our life-enhancing courses and transformational retreats, visit knowtheself.com.